Our other recognized winner of the Janet Sprague's Pro Bono Award is Sheri Dillon, who's a tax partner with Morgan Lewis in Washington, D.C. Sheri recently served as Vice Chair of Pro Bono and Outreach. She preceded Tony Infante, who's at the head table, in that capacity. Going back to 2015, she folded in a clinic in Washington, D.C., the Washington, D.C. Center for Public Interest Law, into her firm. Through that clinic, she's provided pro bono services with other lawyers at Morgan Lewis and representation to hundreds of taxpayers throughout the country, and provided meaningful opportunities for other lawyers within and without her firm. She also launched the first Giving Day the year before last, I believe it was, and we continued this year, and raising funds for the Section's TAPS Endowment Fund, which has been very successful. The Funds for Justice and Education recognize the tax section as being one of the most active fundraising groups of all the sections in the ABA, thanks to what Sheri has done for us. There's so many ways that we're indebted to Sheri and her contributions over the last several years, and it's a pleasure to recognize her. And Sheri, if you'll step up, and we'll give you an opportunity to make any comments.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a hard act to follow, Craig. But I just want to say I am really humbled and grateful to be a recipient of the Sprague's Pro Bono Award, especially along with Craig, whom I congratulate. In a few minutes, you'll hear we have a little something in common. It is my participation in the tax section, though, that I want to talk about first, that's provided these opportunities for me to get involved in pro bono work. While I've always done pro bono work before becoming active in the section, which was many, many years ago, it might have sounded like it was just since 2015, but it was a long time ago. And my pro bono work had initially been grounded in landlord-tenant, guardian ad litem, and other similar type work. That was what was kind of common at large firms, and there wasn't tax work to really be had. And despite being in Washington, D.C., I found it hard to find tax pro bono work. But when I started coming to meetings and getting involved and attending sessions, I learned how to find pro bono work, and I was inspired by other section members. I first heard about calendar call at a section meeting, and I went and sat in a panel. In that panel and conducting it were Frank Agostino, another one of our giants in pro bono, Elizabeth Copeland, who's since changed her name to Judge Copeland, and Carolyn Cirillo. And they were all there and talking about calendar call and how you just connect through it through your local bar, and then you can go volunteer at tax court when they have calendars, sessions. I was like, great, I can do that. So I reached out to DC Bar, and lo and behold, and to this day, they still don't sponsor or attend calendar call. So I had to find something else. And again, the tax section came through for me. I learned about low-income taxpayer clinics. Fast forward a few years from when Nina Olson first got started, and I heard about the Community Tax Law Project. And that was the first clinic I also worked with, taking overflow cases. And my journey eventually took me to becoming the Vice Chair of Pro Bono and Outreach for the section. And that's what I want to talk about just for a couple minutes as far as what that means and how that differs a little bit. So similar to the IRS's mission that we've all heard of advancing the fair and impartial administration of the tax law, part of the tax section's mission, which you can see on the website if you take a peek, is providing leadership to support the development of an equitable, efficient, and workable tax system. And how does the section do this? Well, our pro bono efforts often seek, as you saw through Wells' slides, to represent the unrepresented. We make sure that they are seen as individuals and the individuals who they are. Increasing representation for individual taxpayers is critical to making the tax system more equitable, efficient, and workable. Yesterday, as Judge Panuthos stated, and Judge Panuthos first told us he'd been a judge for 40 years, and he'd been watching the increased representation of taxpayers. He says there's still not enough, but one of the things he commended the section for was trying to help to make sure that taxpayers of all incomes have access to justice, access to quality tax advice from a professional. And as professionals, he reminded us, we have a responsibility to ensure this access is more widespread. And that's part of what I realized when I took on the role of vice chair for Pro Bono, was that our obligation as a section extends beyond individual taxpayer representation. As the people who have worked and studied the rules, regulations, norms, and protocols of the tax system, it's also our obligation to think broadly how the system can become more equitable, efficient, and workable. We need to do more than just represent one taxpayer at a time. So the tax section has been striving to do just that, so that our low-income and unrepresented taxpayers are not just seen and represented as individuals, but so that they are also heard in a big and systematic way. And this occurs through the activities of the section, aiming to make an impact on a system-wide basis. And I want to take a little detour here for just a second, because all of the things that the section does and all of the goals and ideas we have through the members, they need to get executed somehow. And that execution often happens thanks to Meg Newman. And I think we should all recognize Meg, who is General Counsel of the section. And be especially grateful that Meg is our General Counsel. Not only did she come from a background of having private law firm experience, transactional experience, lots of things that are in common with many of us, she also had a background at a low-income taxpayer clinic. So she has special insights into both sides of the house. Anyhow, back to what I was talking about. The tax section is uniquely positioned to impact tax policy and administration. We are able to provide technical feedback to the government, formally through comment letters and courtesy calls, but also informally through participation in government working groups, by writing articles, by putting on webinars, and even by networking at our meetings. So through all of these informal means, the section has been able to raise the needs and barriers that our low-income and unrepresented taxpayers face when seeking a fair and efficient resolution of their tax issues, and to offer solutions to take down those barriers. So all of the work that we do when we're sitting there in our committee meetings, when we're writing comment letters, it actually has this impact on a wider basis. I am proud of the work my colleagues in the tax section do to advance these goals, and I especially also want to thank the low-income taxpayer community and the members of the Pro Bono and Tax Clinics Committee, also known as the PBTC Committee. The PBTC Committee is as diverse and as inclusive as you will find. These practitioners see their clients for who they are and not the circumstances that they find themselves in. When you walk into a PBTC meeting, you will be seen for who you are and what you do, not for where you live, where you work, or who you represent. It's been inspiring, eye-opening, and a privilege to be able to learn from and work with this very special community. So I want to thank them for the generosity, patience, mentoring, and for welcoming me into that community. I look forward to continuing my pro bono work, and I hope more of you will join us. It's a very special place on Saturday mornings at 8:30 to go into a PBTC meeting. Thank you.